In this episode number 10, I am going to talk about some simple technical points on the reactor safety of nuclear power plants. But I am reasonably sure that the current popular textbooks on these simple technical points do not touch them. They do not talk about them. At least when I retired from the industry, the books did not. So let me start with a very simple understanding of these simple points. So let us start with, do we know what is the difference between the safety analysis and accident analysis of nuclear power plants? You can hold the video for some time and answer this question for yourself. I remember that once one chairman of regulatory board asked me the same question. He said he was to attend an international meeting at Vienna where the agenda was accident analysis, and the organizer called it safety analysis meeting. And when I questioned him, he could not explain the difference between the two terms. The organizer, of course, felt very embarrassed because of his ignorance. So, in this episode, I considered it prudent to explain the difference. A nuclear reactor of power plants during its lifetime experiences several types of transients. The transients where control systems which are available in any nuclear power plant are able to bring back the reactor to normal conditions, normal operating conditions, without having to shut down the reactor. These are known as either operating transients or anticipated operational occurrences. The probability of such events is high, but the risk is very small. That is, the consequences of such events are very small. And so, risk, which is a multiplication of probability and the consequences, the risk is normally very small. The other transients which do not fall in the category of normal operating transients are termed as accidents. And normally before we design a reactor, there are certain design basis accidents which form a boundary of all such accidents with their risks involved. And those accidents which are even more severe than design basis accidents are known as beyond design basis accidents. The reactors have limited design considerations for such accidents. Some of experts call these beyond design basis accidents as design extension without core melt and with core melt. The safety analysis includes an analysis of both type of transients. That is, normal operating transients and design basis accidents and beyond design basis accidents. While the accident analysis includes only the second type of transient, that is design basis accidents and beyond design basis accidents. That is, accident analysis includes only design basis and beyond design basis accidents, while safety analysis includes operating and anticipated operating transients together with accidents, which could be design basis or beyond design basis. In other words, accident analysis is a subset of safety analysis. This is what I believe is the difference between the two terms. The next I am going to talk about is to explain why we need a high pressure injection system in a nuclear reactor of a nuclear power plant. Normally, all the reactors worldwide, except maybe one or two, all reactors have this high pressure injection system. That is, among hundreds of nuclear power plants operating worldwide currently, there is hardly a reactor system which does not have a high pressure injection system. But do most of us, so-called safety experts, know why we need a high pressure injection system? I am afraid, according to me, the answer is no for most of the people. And it is obvious. See, the capacity of this system is very less as compared to the hold-up and low pressure injection system capacity. But still, it matters a lot. Why does it matter? This system, that is high pressure injection system, basically caters to small breaks in the pressure boundary of the primary heat transport system. Primary heat transport system is the system which is responsible for cooling the fuel panes, where the coolant leaves the system at a rate, that means I am talking about the small breaks through which the coolant comes out at a rate which is greater than the makeup system can cater to. All the heat transport systems normally have a makeup system which caters to minor leakages. But if a break occurs in a pipe and the coolant leaves the system at a rate greater than the makeup system, then we call it a small break, if it is marginally greater than the makeup system. But that is, it is greater than the makeup system but is relatively small as compared to the system hold up, so that the fact is, so that the system depressurization rate is very slow. System takes large time before the large capacity low pressure injection system can come in. The normal practice in the reactor systems is that if a break occurs and you depressurize the system and then let low pressure high capacity injection system can come in and cool the core. We must remember that the reactor continues to produce heat even when it is shut down. So, as the system slowly depressurizes, the void starts forming. Void, that means steam starts forming in the coolant. As I told earlier, in a nuclear reactor, heat continues to be produced even when the reactor is shut down and has to be continuously removed so that the fuel temperatures remain within its limits. The heat removal from the fuel in the core would remain good if there is a flow of uniformly mixed steam and water. That means under this slow depressurization, the steam which is formed, if it remains uniformly mixed with the water, the heat transfer from the fuel pins to the coolant is very good. But unfortunately, that may not be the case normally in case of a small break, because the pump which is moving the water, which is pumping the water, the pump performance sharply decreases because the pump itself trips, or because under two-phase flow, the head developed by the pump, the force developed by the pump to make the coolant flow sharply decreases. And when the flow is less, the steam water mixture no more remains uniformly mixed, but the steam starts separating out. The steam starts getting collected at the top. So if you have a vertical core, or even for a horizontal core, the steam will get collected at the top of the tubes or top of the reactor core. The threat is that the upper part of the core sees only steam atmosphere with very poor heat transfer from the fuel pins. Consequently, the temperature in these regions rise sharply because the thermal power density in the core is still very high as compared to the heat removal capacity. The surface temperature of the pins, once if it goes above a particular temperature, then it is very difficult to control this temperature, because the heat removal is very less, but the heat production remains reasonably high, and so the temperatures rise. So even when you start providing sufficiently large amount of water, the temperatures still keep rising, and the fuel may fail or may even melt with its unacceptable consequences. The high pressure injection system tends to fill up these voids in the coolant, because this water which comes through this high pressure system is relatively cold, and it comes in the system at the time when it is needed. This keeps the heat transfer from the fuel pin to the coolant always high, and thus keeps the fuel pin safe. So although the capacity of high pressure injection system is low, but during that slow depressurization, it can come into the system and fill up the system, and so the heat transfer from the fuel pins remains good and the temperatures do not rise. This phenomena is different in vertical channel reactors and horizontal channel water reactors. But the issue is same. In both the cases, the phase separation occurs. I am sure there is plenty to comment on what I said. I shall be very glad to respond to all of them if you send it to me in form of a comment. Thanks. My next episode, that is episode number 11, will be on my Hindi translation of some of the Sanskrit shlokas which I came across. Thank you very much.